Hi, Joy.
Hi there, Celeste. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
Oh. um, Congratulations on recording the soundtrack. Your vocals were amazing. Absolutely loved it.
Thank you very much.
So I'll just dive right into the questions. So in terms of the song itself, It's All Right is such a positive song, originally by the late, great Curtis Mayfield.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to record the song?
Well, I'm so glad you said this because I love Curtis Mayfield and I've listened to him since I was a child. And I think a lot of the time with a lot of like big films that are, headed for the mainstream, the soundtracks can be quite clean and sometimes also quite pop. And I was just so refreshed to hear something that comes from a world that I'm inspired by on a film like this. And it just felt really right to be a part of it. And when you watch the film and you hear the music, it feels so natural and you genuinely feel like you're like amongst it. You feel like true real jazz musicians have been a part of bringing that all together. So yeah, I'm just really proud and honored to be a part of it, really.
It's amazing. The film touches on big, meaningful, questions about life.
Yeah.
How would you say the song It's All Right captures the spirit of the film?
I think something that I sort of gained from watching the film is that it sort of made me find comfort in some of my like ideals and ideologies around life and afterlife. And like you said, these sorts of like big conversations. And for it to then end with the song, It's All Right, it's kind of just said to me, which is kind of what I took from the film, which is like, don't worry, try not to control everything, let things happen the way that they will and just trust that that's what it's meant to be, kind of thing. So I think when you hear that song at the end, it sort of is another soothing moment that sort of kind of comes into your psyche, which also echoes the message that I took from the movie, at least. And I'm sure it's open to interpretation. I'm sure everyone that watches it will take something different from it, but I feel it's very open in its nature.
Wonderful. What was your reaction when you got the call to be a part of the film?
I was completely taken back. And I think even up until this moment, I was like, I hope it's going to happen. I hope it's going to happen. So, yeah, I'm just, as I said, I'm just really glad to be a part of it. And I would never have imagined that this year would be the time that I would get to be a part of something sort of, to me, something that feels as monumental as this is. So, yeah.
Wonderful. What was the process for recording it with COVID and everything? What was that like?
Yeah, well, I learnt the song at home, in the room that I'm in right now, actually. And initially I recorded a rough demo of it at home and in this room too. So that was kind of it. And then when the restrictions were loosened and I could go into an actual studio again, I went to record my proper vocal. And I remember speaking with John Baptiste over video call like this and just speaking about like the feeling and like the sentiment behind the song. And he referenced one of my favorite sort of duos of all time from the Motown era, which was Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye. And as soon as he said that to me, I was just like, yeah, I'm so up for this. Like, I'm just going to go into the studio and just feel really good about it. So, I think when you can find a sort of character or someone that you admire to kind of put yourself in their shoes mentally, when you go into a recording space, it gives you a chance to give the music story and narrative, especially when say for me, I'm used to being surrounded by my band when I record, so usually I've got that feeling in the room, and obviously in these times we couldn't do it that way. So yeah, it was good to just speak and understand that, and I'd seen the film as well at that point, so sort of, yeah.
Wonderful. So the film talks about spark and purpose. Who would you say was responsible for igniting your spark, your love of music, if anyone?
Well, actually, my granddad was the first person that played me a lot of the music that I still listen to today, and definitely the artists that sort of inspired me to sing, and that was Aretha Franklin and Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, even Frank Sinatra sometimes. So a bunch of different stuff. Nina Simone was definitely a really important one, because I remember hearing her in the car with him one day, and I think it was I Put a Spell on You, which is obviously one of her more well-known songs, but even so now it's still a song that I sort of listen to and it feels brand new because of, you know, like the cadence and like the phrasing in her voice is so unique, and I've sort of grown to appreciate that bit by bit even more as I've got older, and just really go into the intricacies of her music and appreciating her lyrics, and then going through phases of appreciating her voice, and then appreciating like her musicianship and how she adapted like classical piano to jazz piano. So yeah, I just really admire her actually a great deal.
Wonderful. If you had to choose something else as a career, thinking about purpose now, what would it be?
Do you know what? It's funny because someone else asked me this, and I think that I thought about this recently just because I've sort of got this craving to learn more, kind of, and go outside of my world a little bit. And I mean, fashion and art, I guess, is a part of the music world. But I'd probably like to do like a critical art study or like art history or something, and then see where that would take me. That's something that definitely really interests me on a daily basis. Reading and
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just going to say, speaking about, you know, that sort of creative side, your look is very distinctive. Is that something that you know, you would have a side you would have gone into perhaps in terms of perhaps?
Yeah, thank you. I think so. For me, it was always like music or fashion kind of thing. And I think something I became aware of when I sort of took more to music was that that was something that I could kind of carry some of those other interests into that and bring it all together. Like I used to like making videos when I was younger, and I'd like film my friends and we'd make little weird artsy videos, and we thought they were really cool. They were really awful at the time, but I think all of that goes into, you know, like making music videos and deciding how you want to present yourself in all of these different spaces and platforms, especially now there's so many. It's kind of just making the most of what they are and how you can do that.
Lovely. So you've had an amazing couple of years, having won Brit Rising Star, BBC Music Awards, and most recently the John Lewis advert, which I absolutely adore.
Oh, thank you so much.
What would you say is next for you?
Well, I'm bringing out my album, which will be my first album in February 2021, which I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I just spent a lot of time on that this year and really thinking about what it was I wanted to sort of get across and really understand what I was getting out of that initial sort of like step into making a bigger project, opposed to just releasing like singles kind of thing. And I've learned a lot from it, and I was sort of taking a risk by doing some of the things that I decided to do for it. I worked with my band who I play my shows with, and most of them had never been in a recording studio before. They were like live musicians, but not necessarily recording, and they hadn't really been involved in the writing process maybe as much as I had, and some of them had. So I just felt like I took a leap, and then I found some confidence in that, and some of the music sort of speaks for that, and how that was beginning to become apparent to me towards the end of making it. So there's sort of like themes of empowerment, although there are moments that are quite vulnerable, but I can imagine those themes of empowerment will be the ones that are carried on into the next project, I think. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
Well, I think your voice is amazing. It's dreamy. It really takes one back to, you know, the old time greats and everything. So
that's
yeah,
lovely.
I think you're going to do amazingly well with your new album. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very lovely to talk to you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.